welcome to the Bear Attack podcast. We are your hosts. My name is Tori Bear, and my wonderful husband next to me is
Josh Bear.
Very good. And we are at episode 12 of the Bear Attack podcast. This comes out so quick for us because we released on Fridays and today is a Monday, so it feels like not that long ago.
Yeah, and we spend like Tuesday through Thursday editing.
Yeah. So it's like we're just rolling on through.
I know. It's actually it ends up being like a good amount of work.
I know. I didn't anticipate that.
No, me neither. Yeah.
So, this is ginger beer. Not beer. Whatever. We've talked about ginger beer before.
Yeah, it's delicious. It's basically just soda with ginger in it. But not ginger ale. It's different.
No, it's better.
It's better.
Ginger ale's crap compared to this.
Yeah. Is it the same thing but just more ginger?
I have no idea. I feel like ginger ale, this is more whole ingredients.
Okay. Might
possibly.
Be. I feel like that makes sense.
Yeah. If you're watching, you'll see my outfit is noticeably different vibe than last week's outfit.
Yeah, it is.
Last week I was very polished and professional looking, and this week all gray.
Yeah.
And baggy.
All sweats.
Yeah. Fuzzy socks.
Nice.
To combat the air conditioning. Yeah, I don't feel good. I'm very tired. We had a long weekend. We had a wedding last night.
Yeah.
And we didn't get home until, what time was it? It was late. It was like 11:30? No.
It was like 10:30.
It was 10:30. And then we had to watch the second half of this movie, You've Got Mail, that I fell asleep to another night earlier. So Saturday night. So we had to finish the movie because I needed to see the second half of it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we went to Wawa last night after the wedding, and we were there for like an hour.
It was like a half hour, yeah.
It was a half hour. It felt like an hour.
Yeah. Still a half hour. We went in to get milkshakes.
Milkshakes, yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, no food.
And we were there for a half hour.
So what happened was, first of all, we went in. It was absolutely packed.
It was mobbed.
It was like 9:45, 9:30, I guess, if we got home at like 10:30.
That's a good question. I think it was like 10. Oh, right. Yeah.
I'm trying to like figure out the times.
No, you're right. Yeah. It was like 9:45 probably.
Yeah. And so we both really wanted milkshakes. So we got some milkshakes. I got a matcha milkshake, which was really, really delicious.
That was very good.
It was so good. It just tastes exactly like a matcha mochi, if you've ever had that.
Yeah.
It's so delicious. And Josh got a strawberry milkshake.
Mm-hmm.
So like we put our orders in and then we go pay and then we're waiting by the pickup counter and there's like a whole crowd of people by the pickup counter. And the woman who is behind the counter, like taking the drink orders and like watching the screen for the drink orders, like she's kind of freaking out. Like she's definitely on the verge of like a mental breakdown, I think, because of all the drink orders, like specialty drink orders that are like going through her system that she has to make. And it's like the weirdest dynamic of her being like, I can't do this, and her like continuing to do it. And then also like abandoning ship, and then a new woman comes on, but the former woman's like still kind of in the background.
Yeah.
And then like the new employee whose shift started was like, I can't do this, I have anxiety.
Did she say that?
I heard that.
I missed that. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if it's worth it to stick around. But we really want our milkshakes.
Yeah.
So it was just like interesting to see how it was all gonna play out. So she was like, I have anxiety, I can't do this, but like she was kind of joking, but also like maybe tears were forming.
Yeah.
And then
I think they were like, you know how like in movies and cartoons and stuff, they like somebody will be like, ah, ha, 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 and their eyes like twitching.
Yes.
Kind of like that.
It was literally like that.
Yeah.
And I did feel for them. They had like a large crowd of people around the drink counter just staring at them.
Just
like
horrible.
Waiting for their numbers to be called out.
Yeah.
Josh and I were kind of off to the side because it was so crowded in like the main section.
Yeah, I think there were at least 10 people there when we first got there.
Yeah.
And then we weren't even our number wasn't even called.
Yeah.
Like those people's numbers were called and ours wasn't even called yet.
Yeah.
And then there was like kind of a new set of people waiting.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So it's also very intimidating. I could say, like, as a woman, I used to work in retail, and the group of people who were waiting for their drinks were predominantly men. And it's kind of intimidating as a girl, like, working on stuff where there's, like, a lot of guys in front of you just, like, staring at you, waiting for, like, things to be completed. It kind of, like, shakes you up a little bit. So I do feel for them on that. Yeah, not that, yeah. So anyway, so eventually some guy employee came over and, like, was helping them with everything. I guess he must have been, like, a manager or something.
Yeah.
And, because I feel like I've seen him before. Did he, like, kind of look familiar? Like, I feel like he's been around for a long time. I feel like I've seen him at
that Wawa.
Yeah. So, ouch, I just scratched my nose really hard. Not inside, the outside.
Ooh.
Kind of too close to my eye.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. So, no, it was a very long weekend.
It was very long, yeah.
Friday night, we celebrated Father's Day with her family.
Happy Father's Day!
Yes, which leads us to that. But I did, just quickly before we move on to that.
I'm just kidding. You're right.
Friday, we didn't get home till like 1:15, 1:30, something like that. And then Friday, we...
in the morning, right?
Right, yeah. Like 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Or 1 o'clock in the morning.
Saturday
night.
morning, yeah.
Yeah. And then Saturday night, we hung out with my family for Father's Day. And we didn't get home till about, it was like 12:30 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and then we went to a wedding yesterday.
So had a very late night.
Yeah. Wow. Dude, it's funny. We're talking about it and it's like hitting me like, wow.
I know we've had a crazy weekend.
This is a long weekend. I don't feel well rested at all.
I am exhausted. It was really hard to work today. I had zero motivation.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. But
wow.
All this to say, this is why I'm in sweats.
I mean, it makes sense.
I'm very comfortable though.
I'm in my my balloon pants.
When I first saw those on you, we weren't dating yet, and I called those like ski pants.
Parachute pants? Oh yeah. Oh dang it. Yeah.
Anyway, it was all worth it to celebrate our wonderful fathers.
Yes.
Because they are amazing. Like Josh said, we celebrated my dad on Friday. And we celebrated his stepdad on Saturday.
Yeah.
And well deserved. My father is amazing. He's done so much for us and our family, and he's the best.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's really amazing. Yeah, my stepdad, I mean, he came into my life when I was 12. And yeah, I mean, like, to me, he's kind of like my dad in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it's, it was awesome to be able to celebrate that with him and to celebrate him, and to celebrate them, both of our dads. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Happy Father's Day.
Belated Father's Day.
Yeah, a little belated, but we just didn't think about it last week.
Yeah, I mean, no, I didn't think about it either.
I didn't think about it until like a couple days after we recorded. I was like, that probably should have been like a Father's Day podcast.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It works out. This is what we're doing this year. So
it was just yesterday, so.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense for us to do it today.
Yeah.
But the episode isn't releasing until Friday.
Oh, that's a good point.
So it would have made sense to do it last Tuesday as when we were recording, because it would have been released this weekend.
Yeah, like Friday. Right. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. But fathers are so important. We went to church yesterday, and our pastor was just saying some statistics about people who grow up in fatherless homes. I think they predominantly make up, like, kids who have run away from home predominantly come from homes that never had a father in them, or, you know, an absent father.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying, like, I forget the numbers, so I don't know how much, I forget what the numbers are, but
it was like the majority of kids, though.
Majority of kids. I feel like it was 90%.
It might have been.
I remember a 90% number.
Yeah.
So we are just so grateful that we, you know, grew up in homes where our father was present. My father and his father.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think about that in my situation with my stepdad. Like, I do wonder sometimes, like, you know, if he was never, if my mom had never met him and she never got remarried, like, I feel like my life would be very drastically different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and I mean, in so many ways.
Yeah. So we are just so grateful to them. So yeah, wish your fathers happy Father's Day. Keep saying it every day, because every day is a happy Mother's Day and every day is a happy Father's Day.
Yeah.
So we are just so grateful to them, or a father figure in your life. You know, that those always make a huge impact on people.
Definitely.
So that is just, something to think about.
For sure. You know, it's funny. We were talking about our busy weekend and Friday night, Saturday night yesterday. It was just like insane. But leading up to this insanely busy weekend, like last week was bonkers. You know what I mean?
It was bonkers.
We need a break.
Let me tell you about last week.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the title of this podcast is called How to Rally After Crying in Front of Your Coworkers.
We're writing it down.
That's what it has to be, because
that's the one.
This is the story I'm going to tell.
Yeah.
You can probably see where this is going.
There's a little headline.
Yeah. Extra.
Yeah.
Tori cried in front of all her coworkers. Oh no. Yeah. But it wasn't my fault. Okay. It wasn't. Literally anyone listening to this is going to say, like, it's literally never her fault.
She always says it's not her fault.
She always says that, but we're starting to think maybe it is her fault.
No, but this is the thing. I feel like we said this last week. You know, we were listening to our podcast from last week, and we did say this exact thing last week.
Literally was thinking about that. Yeah.
But it's because your coworkers many times make you feel like it is your fault.
Yeah.
When it actually truly is not.
I know.
There's a difference between when your coworkers make you feel like it's your fault and it actually is your fault, and when your coworkers make you feel like it's your fault and it's not your fault, like, at all.
Right.
Yeah. But like, yeah, in this situation, it wasn't at all your fault.
No.
And you would take responsibility if it was.
I would, and I do.
Right.
But I try to set up myself throughout a transaction where I don't do anything wrong. But okay, so all this to say, this is what happened. So we're going to get into some title insurance logistics here, but I will try to explain it as best as I can. So what happened with this transaction is that my brokerage represented the sellers on a deal. So a real estate agent from my office represented sellers who are selling their house. So what happens with this is, in the state of Pennsylvania, sellers are responsible for clearing title. So what happens is they go through a whole title search of the property, and the title company the buyers choose do a title search of your property, and this shows any ownership issues that may come up and any, like, judgments against a person will come up, and those will have to be cleared. Any tax issues that were never paid come up, whatever. Mortgages come up. Home equity lines of credit come up. These all have to be cleared by being paid off at closing. And the title company sends the payment to the institutions, and they're cleared from record. And most of the time it's pretty straightforward, but in this case, the sellers had an old mortgage that they claimed they had already paid off, but it was still showing up in the records as not being paid off. So what we would look for, they claim it's paid off, and the records would show a satisfaction piece to prove, like, oh yeah, that's been paid off. We don't even have to put this on title. Everything's all good. But in this case, they were only showing the original mortgage. They weren't showing the corresponding satisfaction piece showing it's been paid off. Okay. So that happened.
And this is a big deal, because you can't, if there's a mortgage still on title, that means that they technically still owe whatever that is, whatever that number is. And they need a satisfaction piece, like Tori said, in order to not owe that thing. So if you can't get it paid off, quote unquote, in time, or you can't get some sort of paperwork saying, oh no, this was already paid off, i.e. satisfaction piece that Tori was talking about, before the settlement, then all that money is on hold.
Yeah. So let's say, like, Josh and I took out a $100,000 mortgage 10 years ago, and we paid it off 5 years later, and now we want to sell our house, but it's still showing up on records as if we never paid it off. That title company will hold back $100,000 of our proceeds from the sale, if we even have the money to do that.
Right.
Let's say we were selling our house for $100,000.
Yeah.
Like, and then we needed funds to buy another house.
Right.
So it can get really complicated. It can get really messy. It can get really emotional. And people, and I'm only the messenger of this very bad news to people.
Yeah.
Now, there is a process where I can go to the bank and request the paperwork I need to make sure this doesn't happen. But it gets a little more complicated when the bank no longer exists. So that was the case for this.
Just absolute chaos.
Just the bank didn't exist anymore.
Oh my gosh.
But there's a solution. However, we can use a service that tracks down the new owner of this mortgage, but it will cost the sellers $225 at closing for this service. So, whatever. The sellers got really upset about this, but eventually, they understood this was their only course of action. There was no one I could contact to get a hold of someone who would know what was going on. I make very detailed notes in the file, very detailed, because I don't want someone coming back to me saying we never agreed to the service, whatever. So I write down, I save emails, I save everything, and we go through this process, and I get updates from the third party service telling me like what's going on. And for a long time, all the updates are saying we're just waiting on this piece. We got a hold of someone. They're tracking it down. They have it. We're just waiting for it to be executed and sent back to us, and then we can send it to you.
To be clear, the thing that they're trying to go get is the satisfaction piece.
Yes.
Yes. For this mortgage that was still on title. Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Got it.
Thank you. Yes, that's correct. So I'm realizing we're probably not going to have this for closing, and the title company is probably going to have to hold money. So I let everyone know a week before closing. I let my agent know, and I let the title company know, like, hey, we aren't going to have this for closing. What can we do to make sure this still goes to settlement on time? And the title company answers back with my agent copied, and she says, we can hold the face amount of the mortgage. Usually they would hold 1.5 times of the original amount.
Wow.
So let's say, we were selling, it was me and Josh's situation, hypothetical situation, where we took out a $100,000 mortgage. They're only holding $100,000, where normally they would hold 1.5 times that.
150,000, yeah.
150,000. So
1.5.
To me, that was really good news. Like, they're only holding the original amount. That's great.
Yeah.
People will come out with plenty of money still.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a bummer, but that's just the process.
Yeah.
There's nothing anyone can do to change it.
No.
So I think we're all good. My agent knows. I know. The title company knows. We can still settle.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this is like the best possible outcome with the current situation. A day before settlement, I get these panicked calls from the sellers. Panicked. Absolute, like, oh my gosh, like, they couldn't believe what was going on. And I'm really confused because I thought they knew. Like, I thought their agent told them. Because that's what you're supposed to do.
And you had told the agent a week before this, yeah.
The agent knew a week before. It's her duty to tell her clients.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't get panicked phone calls the day before settlement asking me, like, literally, they somehow got a hold of someone at their bank and was like wanted to like hold the phones up together with me on one line and their bank on another line. They're saying this third party service failed us. What's going on? Like, we can't believe this is happening. Whatever. They had no information on the mortgage on title when we started this process. Now they're coming at me with all this information. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's a little late for this. But they're calling me every 5 minutes about it. And I'm trying to like calm them down. They're saying they're very frustrated. I shouldn't be taking these phone calls right now.
I was going to say, I feel like this is not part of your job.
I don't know. I mean, technically it is, but like this could have been avoided.
But this isn't your, so like you serve the real estate agents in your company.
Yeah.
This wasn't even your agent like sellers, right?
It was.
Oh. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So technically I'm their point of contact.
I see. Okay, gotcha.
But their agent didn't tell them about money being held back until the day before.
Right.
Which shouldn't have happened because I let the agent know
a week before,
even 3 days before, again.
Really?
That there's a low chance we're going to have this for settlement.
Oh, gosh.
That money is going to be held.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that, like, if I'm an agent and I saw that, I would be like, oh boy, I need to let my clients know ASAP.
You would think so. Nope.
Apparently not.
Just dump it all on Tori.
Yeah. And we'll just let them remount Tori.
Yeah, it's fine. They'll just call her. She'll get it all sorted out. Oh my gosh. So I'm like getting really stressed out. I'm not really stressed out. I'm getting really overwhelmed because I'm having these people call me and yell at me. And then this agent is calling her boss. And these sellers are also friends with people someone in our office. She's coming to me like, what's going on? She is just starting like a forest fire around me.
Oh my gosh.
And so all these people are coming up to me like, what's going on? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? And I'm getting really overwhelmed. And I'm thinking, I thought it was all taken care of. Like, until obviously not. I'm like, how are people getting this upset right now? Like, I was just so confused because I was like, this should have all been happening, like, if at all, like 4 days ago at the very least.
Do you mean the communication?
Yeah. Like these panicked phone calls.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, there's nothing. This is settling tomorrow at 11:00. Like, there's nothing anyone can do. So I let my boss. Anyway, so I'm getting all these like questions thrown at me by all these people. I'm so overwhelmed that I start like welling up. I go out to my car. I like cry in my car. I call Josh. I cry some more. Oh wait, no, I don't think I called you the first time. There were 2 times that day. I go out. I try to compose myself. I come back in, and I get more questions. More people are in my office asking me about this. I'm like welling up, and they leave, and I like cry into my coworker's arms. And I'm like so overwhelmed by like everyone screaming at me. Now they weren't really screaming at me. They weren't mad at me, and they let me know like
Yeah, but they came into your office with the assumption, asking you all these questions with the assumption that there's something that you could do about it, or there's something you could have done about it.
Yeah.
Which is,
but they also know this agent, and they know this agent is crazy.
Rough, yeah.
People have refused to work with her because of how crazy she is.
Yikes.
Like, she just starts fires everywhere, and they know this about her. So they're just trying to, I know they're just trying to get the story, because she's calling them, and like clients are calling people, and it's like kind of getting out of hand. So, but it was just like, I'm just so mad at this agent, like that she would put me through something like this. So, because it was horrible.
Yeah.
So then I'm crying in my coworker's arms. I go out to my car again. That's when I call Josh. I'm like yelling the situation to him. And then I come back in. Oh, I can't compose myself. Like, it's just, I'm in my car and I cannot pull myself together. So I just like start answering emails from my car. Yeah. And that actually helps me kind of get back into like work mode. I'm like distracted by other stuff there's other stuff that's going on that needs to get done. It was just ridiculous. It was so crazy.
Yeah.
It was like the craziest day. And I'm like so mad at myself for how upset I got, but I couldn't help it. Something just came over me, and I was just like, I was so angry. All I could do was cry. It was just like, ugh. I was so angry.
Yeah, I know.
I'm past it now, though.
Yeah, that was like last Wednesday or something.
Yeah, I let my boss know about it. She validated me a lot. She was like, you did an amazing job on this file. You did a perfect job, actually. You left very detailed notes. I could follow exactly what you're doing the whole time. You did exactly the right thing. She's like, you have nothing to hide from.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing that you did wrong. There's nothing that you should feel ashamed
and there's
of.
nothing more I could have done.
Yeah.
So I want to say I'm amazing at my job.
You are. You really are.
Just kidding. But yeah, it's just so
I'm so sorry.
Agents, man.
Oh gosh. There are a few things worse than being in a situation like that where people are assuming that you did something wrong or can do something, and you're just like, I truly can't, though.
They just will not take no for an answer.
Yeah. It's really difficult to work with people like that.
It's horrible. Yeah, it was horrible. And I try to set their expectations as when how do I want to explain this? I don't even want to get into that. They knew the risks.
I mean, you let them know.
I let them know. It's not a guarantee that we'll have it by closing, but we will have it eventually.
Yeah, right.
And their agent should have been better and should have let them know. Yeah.
I'm not saying you feel this way, but I know there have been maybe one or two times where I've been in a similar situation at work, and I feel like my struggle is I don't feel like I care enough about any of the work that they're getting so upset over that I like.
You can't bring yourself to care.
Yeah. I can't bring myself to build the energy to care as much as they care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I know it's different in your situation because you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars of people's money. So it's
it's real estate. They always say real estate, it's just so emotional.
Yeah.
It's so emotional. And so you're just getting all that emotion poured out on you from all angles. And so what that means in this case is I was happy with I thought everyone was informed. I didn't care that money was getting held back. I was like, oh great, that's actually works out. They'll have enough money. They don't need the money. I think they I don't know if they were buying. I know it's kind of weird. They were coming out with plenty of money. Yeah. Even with the money being held, but I know it sucks. I know that's really frustrating and probably not the expectation from this transaction. So I can empathize with that 100%. But I didn't let them know the day before. That would have been a mistake on my part. I let them know a week before that this was going to happen, which is a normal, if not early, to let someone know about something like this. Usually I get the transaction I started this process a month before settlement, approximately maybe 3.5 weeks before settlement. I started the order with the third party service. So we let 3 weeks go by or 2.5 weeks go by before we were like, yeah, probably nothing's going to come in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's really hard.
Yeah. So I like anytime there's going to be, okay, so now I know though, I've took something from this experience to make it go a lot more smooth in the future for me. Hopefully. I took from this that I will, next time I have a deal with this agent and we're in a similar situation, I'm not only going to keep her in the loop, I have to keep her boss in the loop because that's the first person she goes to when things aren't going her way. So I think it'd be a lot easier for everyone now that I know what she does.
Yeah.
And her boss is, someone I work with in my office. He's very friendly, but he's very black and white. Like, he's very like, okay, like wants just the objective truth on things.
Yeah.
So I know, like, for now on, anytime there's a situation like this again, I'm going to keep him in the loop the whole time. Like, hey, I got this deal with this person. This is what's going down. She might get upset about this. You might get a phone call about this.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just tell you my side of the story right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that would help him. That would help me. And that will help her.
That's crazy.
High maintenance.
Oh, gosh, dude.
High maintenance.
I don't know how you do it. I would lose my mind.
I kind of wish we could switch jobs for like a day.
No, that's okay.
Just to like see, just so I can learn from you how to be callous and not care.
I feel like I would just be mean. I feel like I'd just be so mean.
You might snap.
I think I'd snap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not I'm not a mean person.
You're not mean.
In fact, it's like
I'm
hard
sorry
for me.
I said that.
Oh, wait, said what?
I think I said you were mean.
Did you?
I would say I would learn how to be mean from you.
Yeah. Oh. Well, I think in situations like that, I do become very black and white and very straightforward, and
that's good.
don't. Yeah, and I think at that point with something like that, if I know somebody did something wrong, I'm gonna let them know.
Yeah.
And so like, which I think in your job, I feel like you can't really do that.
No.
Yeah, and so I feel like I'd get in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the agent, you can't. It's hard. Like for me, I just don't have the authority to talk back to an agent like that.
Yeah.
And but her bosses can, so that's like the only people I can go to. They can put her in her place, and I just keep doing my job.
Yeah.
So, how to rally.
Yeah.
You got this. It's okay to cry at work.
It is okay. It is okay, and there's a way to
let it out.
Yeah, let it out, and it's okay.
Yeah. I want to hear other people's crying at work stories, so I feel better about myself.
Yeah, I've cried or like been incredibly overwhelmed at work, but I was working from home. It was a little different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard being in the office.
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
I was like overwhelmed and like panicked, like, oh my gosh, I'm about to cry, and I was it wasn't like it was like sobbing.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't breathe.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh, you heard it.
Yeah. I did.
I was like, Josh, they don't get anything.
I know. I'm glad you called me though. I feel like, I mean, you can tell me this, but I do feel like it was good for you to let it out a little bit.
No, I definitely needed to scream.
Yeah.
And Josh knew I wasn't screaming at him.
No, yeah.
I wasn't like yelling. I wasn't taking it out on him.
Yeah.
I was just sort of like saying what I wanted to say to all those people, to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, it's funny. Typically, if I'm, listening to you vent, I do understand. One thing I feel like that I've learned over the years is that, from what I've been told, a lot of times when girls need to vent, they don't necessarily need you to respond to what they're doing or like give them advice. They just need to just talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think guys and girls.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. It's like people in general.
Because you sometimes do your venting and you don't.
No, you're right.
Sometimes you know what the solution is, but you don't want me to tell you. You don't need me to tell you.
Right. That's a good point. I just need to like say it out loud.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like, typically when you do vent to me, I feel like I know how to respond most times.
You do.
When you called me, I had no idea what to say. So I literally said nothing.
I know, you said nothing, which is fine. That worked out.
At the end, I was just like, I'm so sorry.
You're like, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was perfect. That's all I needed to hear.
Yeah. I was like sitting at my desk and I was really trying to like think of like, is there anything I can say to this?
No.
Like, is there any like sort of like consolation other than like, I'm so sorry, that really blows. Yeah. And there really was not.
There was none.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was none. It's hard because at that point, I wasn't upset at the problem. I was upset at myself for getting upset about the problem.
Oh, interesting.
I was like embarrassed that my problem at that moment was that I was just embarrassed that I cried in front of everyone.
Right.
Like, I didn't even care about like the calls or anything. I wish I had the thicker skin to just kind of stand up to everyone and be like, hey, listen, if you have a problem, like, we need to do this one by one. Yeah. Don't come at me all at once.
No, yeah, of course.
Or something to that effect. Like, my problem in the moment was like, I was just so embarrassed. I cried in front of everyone, and I didn't know how to recompose myself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that was the real root issue of everything.
Right, of course, yeah.
But yeah, venting was good.
Yeah, good. I'm glad.
I definitely needed to scream in my car for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like a cliche, but it like was actually true in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I just needed to cry it out.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
That was rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got through it.
You did. You got through it. But all that to say, I mean, we've had quite an exhausting last few days.
That was emotionally draining.
Yeah.
I like passed out that night because I was just so tired.
Yeah, that was rough.
I was so tired.
Yeah.
I like just came home and I was like, just needed hugs.
Yeah. We hugged for a long time.
Yeah. It was good.
Yeah. So anyway, after that roller coaster of an intro.
Now you all know.
Yeah. There is something that we wanted to talk about, given the fact that it's Pride Month.
Yes, it is.
For those who don't know, that's in reference to the LGBTQ plus community.
Yeah.
They have their own month to show how proud they are of. I'm sorry. That sounds like I'm being like, what's the word? Like
condescending?
Yeah, it sounds like I'm being condescending. I shouldn't have said it that way. I
think it was good.
Oh, okay. You thought it was good that I was coming off a little condescending.
No, I thought it was. actually didn't even perceive it that way at all.
Oh, good. Okay. I didn't. Yeah, I wasn't trying for it to come off that way.
No.
I just mean like it's it's their. That's what Pride Month is. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
It's Pride Month.
And we want to talk about it from the perspective of Christians, which is who we are.
Yes.
We believe in the Bible wholeheartly, and so everything that we look at is from the lens of the Bible, right?
Yes.
And so I know for me, and I think for I can speak for both of us. You
can.
When it comes to this podcast and it comes to why we do it. I mean, we have a few reasons for why we do it.
Mm-hmm.
We love doing it, and it's a nice little outlet for us. But
yes,
I think one of the reasons. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
but,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say one of the reasons to we want to be vocal about our faith and what we believe in, and we don't want to shy away from that. And so I think it's just a good opportunity for us now, given that it's Pride Month, and we can kind of talk a little bit, from a Christian perspective, like, I mean, a couple things, kind of like observations on like what we're seeing in the world now and what's going on, particularly this Pride Month. A lot of pretty crazy things going on. But then also maybe like as a Christian, like how to react to it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I know for me, I feel like over the last like probably like, I don't know, 10 to 15 years or so, Pride Month has been a pretty big thing. But it has been increasingly more so, I would say, over the last like 5 years.
A big thing in what regard?
Like in the world, I don't know. Like
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not for you, like personally.
No, like in the world.
Yeah.
But I do feel like the last like probably like 4 to 5 years it's been promoted more, you know? I would say even particularly so probably like in the last 2 years. I kind of feel like maybe I just wasn't paying attention before this, but kind of back when like the BLM movement started and like with the tragic event with George Floyd and like all of that happened, I do feel like there's been maybe I just wasn't paying attention. You know what I mean?
That's like kind of what were you saying?
I guess for me that's when I started to pay attention to like stuff going on in the world. And so maybe that's just when I started noticing like, oh, like there's a pretty large push or a large like, this is what I'm trying to say. A lot of like companies and corporations like really embrace Pride Month.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And I say companies and corporations. I guess I just mean like, in social media, like there's a huge like embrace of Pride, gay Pride and Pride Month. And maybe I just started paying attention to current events more after the George Floyd murder happened, but so maybe just for me that's why I've noticed it. But
for me it was definitely when I started this job.
Yeah,
it was like
which was around that time.
Yeah. So I guess it makes the same for me too.
Yeah.
And I feel like the focus in present day is now like trans pride. Like I think the hype for like same-sex relations pride is kind of past, and now the focus I feel like is definitely more on like trans pride, and binary pride and stuff. So anyway, I don't know what I was gonna go with that, but
oh no, I think you were just
I just noticed it too when I started my workplace, like my first year, like last year, like June, Pride Month was kind of like a huge shock to me that like my company was like focusing on it so much. And then I started noticing like all these corporations
and like the push for use of pronouns and things like that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The push for pronouns in our signatures.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's just something we've just been observing more recently. It's just like, there's a very, very large push, it seems like, for it,
definitely.
Yeah, and I think like I noticed particularly this month, I don't know if you know this, but have you heard about like the drag shows that they're doing for children?
No.
Yeah.
Wait, where? In like schools?
It's like a field trip. Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's horrible.
And there's like this isn't school related, but like parents bringing their kids to like I don't know if they're like drag parades necessarily, but they might be. I mean, there are people in drag there at these parades. I think they're just like pride parades. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's a shocker.
I saw a video on, I believe it was Twitter, of a group of, I think they were men, dressed in like BDSM garb.
Oh my gosh.
And they had like whips and stuff.
And they were like performing for children?
They weren't performing for children, but they were in the parade and there were children right there. Yeah.
That's interesting. Is that the fault of the parent for bringing them to that parade, or maybe?
Yeah.
Oh, like definitely.
100%. Yeah, I think so.
But did they advertise the parade as being for children as well?
Yes.
They did?
There are situations where like, yes, they advertise as like, oh, this is like a family friendly event. And then I don't know about that one particularly, but there are some words like, yeah, this is a family friendly event. And then they go and it's like men in drag with like thongs on. Yeah.
So sexualized.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ew. That's horrible. I would not want my kid to see that.
No, neither would I.
No, I want to shield them from that for as long as possible.
Yeah. I guess the point of it is to like promote awareness. I don't really know.
Yeah, they definitely want it to be normalized. And like
I saw an interview with a dude in drag, and he was like, what is happening? He's like, I don't want any children to watch me.
Oh, that's interesting. So a
Yeah.
person who a drag person
Yeah.
was opposed.
He was trying to say
To
like
that.
I'm like letting it all out is basically what he was saying. He's like,
Yeah.
I don't want kids seeing that.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
He shouldn't.
No, he shouldn't. It's good that he didn't. Yeah. And there are a couple stories, and I'm not saying this is true for every single drag person who performs in front of children, but there have been, I can think of at least one that I saw where it was like this drag person was really pushing to perform in front of children, and then it came out that they were like a pedophile.
A pedophile.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I don't know. It's just like, it certainly at the very least opens a door for people like that to be like, oh, this is, not only is it something that's seemingly legal for me to do, but like in fact it's like encouraged and like celebrated. So
And it would be looked down upon for someone to oppose them joining. They would actually be called like transphobic or LGBTQ phobic.
Yeah. Exactly.
And they have that working for them.
Yeah.
To commit crime.
Yeah. Now I understand that this is not the majority, or at least I don't think so.
I hope not.
I hope not either. Yeah.
I could see it becoming the majority in the future.
Yeah. I think what I could see is more people being approving of it. Yeah.
Definitely.
But I don't know. It's just like, I feel like I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. I don't think anybody's ever seen anything like that before this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it's a new
I
thing.
don't know. I'm thinking about a couple, like a township that's by us where that's always been really prevalent.
Yeah, but doing drag shows for kids is what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
Like that just seems like,
that's a line.
I feel like
they crossed it.
As a Christian, when you read the Bible, the Bible's with at times pretty clear on what like the quote unquote end times are going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
For a Christian, what that means is like the time when something called the tribulation is going to happen, when depending on what you believe in, whether or not Jesus is going to come back during that time. And so like all this to say that's like what's considered the end times. It's all kind of like in its own little thing. And it's, I don't know. It just is like stuff like this is like the Bible talks about like people are going to believe that right is wrong and wrong is right, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just like, I know humans have been doing that for a long time,
mm-hmm.
but I don't know about to this extent.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there hasn't been the technology yet, as far as I'm concerned, to like completely change your biological sex.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's crazy.
That is really insane.
Yeah. And from what I understand, I don't think there has ever been a time where there have been school field trips to drag shows.
I would agree with you there.
Yeah, maybe there has and I just don't know, but like I think at the very least it hasn't been more publicized than it is now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And like praised.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. That has to be true.
Right.
Yeah. So all that to say, I think like as a Christian, you look at that and it really makes you think like, what is this world we're living in right now?
Like how did we get to this point?
Yeah. And like makes you wonder, like, are we close? Like, is it getting close?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But all this to say, so, we have all these things going on around us in the world, particularly because it's Pride Month. And I think as Christians, one question that we should be asking ourselves is like, okay, how do we react to all this?
Right.
I'm not trying to talk about this because I think I have the best answer or anything like that.
Right.
Because I don't. But I do think it is very important to not respond with hate towards these people. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I feel like that's a pretty, I don't want to say obvious answer. I guess it's I guess the reason I'm saying it is because there are a lot of Christians who are responding with hate. You know what I mean?
I think it's important to distinct that we're hating the act of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because it is directly in opposition to God.
It's sinful, yeah.
It's in direct opposition to God, right? That's the way to say that.
Mm-hmm.
But we look at the people and we approach them with love.
Yeah.
And with the love of Jesus Christ, and that there's hope that they can too be redeemed.
Yeah.
Because in the eternal sense, all sin is the same, right? Me lying about something to Josh is the same weight as murdering someone.
It's all sin, right?
It's all sin. It's all missing the mark.
Yeah.
It all draws us away from God. Obviously, in, on earth, there's much more consequence, which is good.
Yeah.
But we approach all these people with love, and that we too were in sin and now are saved by grace.
Yeah.
And they can too be saved by grace.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I think for me, speaking for myself, and I think I can speak for a lot of Christians when I say this, when you see things like that, when you see acts like that, the first sort of like natural reaction, and again, I am speaking for myself, but I do think I speak for many other Christians. The first sort of natural reaction is like, ugh, like that person's so disgusting. Like, how could they possibly do that? Like, what a horrible human being. Like, I hate them. You know what I mean? And I think I know for me, I feel like I have to kind of go against that nature of myself and realize like everything you're saying, and in that Jesus looks at that person and his heart's broken for that person. You know what I mean? He sees the sin, obviously, but he still loves that person, and he died for that person.
He did.
And so I think it's very important to remember that as Christians.
And to pray for these people.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And to pray for these people. It's interesting. Tori and I saw a documentary. This was Friday night. The documentary was called "What Is a Woman?" It was directed and produced by someone named Matt Walsh. He's from the Daily Wire. We're not gonna like comment on how we feel about the Daily Wire because that's not the point at all. But looking at the documentary strictly from like a Christian point of view, that's what we're trying to do. So, but with that said, in the documentary, he just kind of interviews a bunch of people and from all different walks of life.
Yeah,
so
like professionals, people just walking on the street,
Yeah. And on all different spectrums of beliefs in regard to Pride Month, or I should say Pride in general, and particularly transgenderism. And
yeah,
things
that
like
focus is definitely like on transgenderism.
Yeah. And, we're watching this documentary and, it just, and I guess going back to the point of like, what is this time we're living in right now? It really kind of did highlight for me, like, it is a really, really crazy time that we're living in right now.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, you could see, and I don't know, maybe this is like archaic of me to believe, or it's archaic of me to say, but like when you could like walk on the street and see a person who you would maybe naturally think is clearly a woman, but they're identifying as like a straight man or something like that. And you're like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like that's, I can't think of a time in history from what I've studied at least or researched where that has been the case.
Right.
And then, I mean, like, and then the huge push for like children to go through with these transitions,
huge push.
Yeah. And it's just interesting. I guess another point, this is sort of separate, but it is interesting to me how like there's a push to, and I don't want to be like harsh, but there's a push to like abort children before they're born. And then there's also a push to just like completely mutilate their bodies after they're born. Yeah.
There's definitely an attack.
It is very interesting
happening.
Yeah. And I mean, in the Bibles, Jesus is very clear about how he feels about children. Like they are, I mean, he had the verse in, I believe it's Matthew, where it's like, if anyone like hurts any of these little children, like it's like tying a millstone to their ankle and like throwing them to the bottom. Like that's what their punishment should be. It's essentially, you know what I mean? And throwing them into the sea is what he says. I'm paraphrasing, and I don't know if I got that exactly right. But, I mean, that's essentially what the verse is.
He cares very much. He values little children.
Yes. And it's just very interesting to see the world and what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And to them, it's interesting because to the world, they are doing what they think is best for children.
Yeah.
But from our perspective and from like a Christian perspective, it's like severely hurting the kids.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And going back to what the Bible says about the end times, like people are going to think that what's right is wrong and what's wrong is right.
That's a prime example.
Yeah. That's a perfect example. Like,
it's so weird. Like to bring up the abortion topic that you brought up, like, it's so interesting that they like, how do I word this? There's a huge push for women to have the right to abort a human in their body. And then let's say that children grew up and is now 6 years old and saying they want to be the opposite sex. And then there's a huge push to like put this child up on a pedestal and just fight so hard for this child to mutilate their body.
With complete disregard to whatever the mom or dad might feel.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, in Canada, in like British Columbia at least.
This was in the documentary.
In the documentary. There's a guy who was charged, his 13-year-old daughter.
Oh, he went to prison. Yeah.
Wanted to transition to be a boy, I think.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, I want to be a part of this conversation and like talk her and like kind of tell her, this isn't really good.
Yeah. Yeah. He was very opposed.
And he was very opposed.
Yeah.
He was completely shut out from that conversation. He was arrested and put in jail.
Yeah.
He said in that region, I don't know how laws in like Canada work. So I don't know if like there's laws in British Columbia that don't apply to Canada or if it's like all one overarching thing. But at least in that region, like him opposing her transition was the equivalent of like physical abuse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there was a mention of like a restraining order or something like that. Or like maybe not a restraining order, but like visitation rights or something like that.
Yeah, it's so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can't see his daughter.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Can't see her.
So all this to say, I think as a Christian, and I think the reason why I wanted to bring up the documentary was just to point out like the world is just getting so backwards from a Christian perspective. More and more so, and I think when it comes to the month of June, Pride Month, particularly this year, I feel like it's being more and more celebrated. Things that are even more of an abomination are just becoming more and more celebrated. Yeah. And when I use the word abomination, I'm using the definition from like the Bible. I'm using, what I mean? So, but all this to say, I think it is very easy for Christians to naturally respond with hate. Now, I'm not saying that responding with anger is the same as responding with hate. I think it's okay to be angry at what is happening to the world and what people are trying to force children to do and what people are trying to force other people to do, and the push for sin to be celebrated. I think it's okay to be angry about that. However, I do think there's a difference between that and responding with hate.
Right.
And I think as Christians, there has to be the healthy balance of realizing, and you said this earlier, Tori, like, a hatred for the sin, for the act of what's going on, but a love for the sinner,
Yes.
And I feel like it's a pretty, like, I don't want to, a lot of Christians say that, like, hate the sin, don't hate the sinner type of thing. But, I mean, it's just so true.
And it's hard to do in real life.
It's very hard to do.
It's hard to, like...
It's not natural, for
You need
sure.
the Lord. It can only be done through the Lord.
Yeah,
I
definitely. Definitely.
think.
Yeah, you need the Holy Spirit, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, I don't know. I think for us, that's something that we wanted to point out, given the fact that it is Pride Month. And something I think for us, we wanted to show that, we're taking a stand on it. This is where we stand. This is what we believe in.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I mean, like, the Lord looks down, he sees a bunch of broken people who need him, no matter if they're a girl and they've changed to a boy and then they change back or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, no matter, what they think about themselves or how they identify, like, the Lord loves those people and he died for them,
Yes, he did.
So, yeah, and I maybe I should be clear. Not that I think the Lord is okay with people transitioning and he's okay with people identifying as something that were not born as. But
right.
What I'm saying is that doesn't stop him from loving them. It didn't stop him from dying for them either.
Unconditional love.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think as Christians, we have to respond the same way,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So
also as a Christian.
Yeah. Anyway, that's just something we want to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. And like Josh said, we wanted to address our views on because it is so prevalent in today's world. You can't turn around without being faced with something of this nature. So it's important to talk about, and it's important for us to, as Christians, to talk about also, not to hide away from these conversations.
100%.
So yeah, we definitely wanted to talk about that.
Yeah.
So we hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
I just wanted to quickly say, like, if anybody has any questions or they want to talk to us about anything, if they are curious about something we think about, or if they're angry at us and want to yell at us, feel free to reach out. That's no problem.
Sounds good.
Comment on our on YouTube. You can
DM me.
Yeah, you can DM Tori, The Bare Necessities, on Instagram. Yeah, I mean, if there are people who want to talk about this, like, we would love to have the dialogue. So
that'd be so fun.
Yeah. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So we hope you enjoyed this episode. We will see you guys next week. Like Josh said, comment on YouTube, follow us there. Sorry, I couldn't remember if Spotify was follow or subscribe. YouTube is subscribe. Follow us on Spotify and on Apple. Give us a review.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Cool.
Share with someone.
Yeah, share this. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So see you guys.
Yep. See you all.
Bye.